So, hey, before we begin here and we get into what you do, it's very interesting. I'm curious how you survived COVID. How did you get through the last 3 years, and how has it affected the way that you do business now?
So you're asking just specifically from a business perspective.
Well, I mean, they both probably intercede. I mean, you're running your own gigs, so that's going to come into your existence as a person. So, however those two kind of come together.
Yeah. So I was working at a startup pretty much full time, well, full time at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And essentially, the startup world is tough. We were running out of funding simultaneously when COVID hit. So that really only lasted a few months after, March, April of 2020. And it was in October of 2020 that I started my business. So it was, I guess, a bit of a coincidence with the startup not working out and COVID, because if they had happened independently of each other, I don't know if I would have started a business and if things would have happened the way that they did. Um, so that was kind of the beginning. And um, I mean, to be honest, I was already starting kind of at a low because I was mostly working for equity, in terms of I wasn't leaving a big corporate job with all this financial stability and everything like that. Um, I was kind of already creating my own path at the startup as well. Um, so it just felt like the right choice. And I don't know if you've heard the saying that, you hear people that make money in a good economy, you hear people that lose money in a good economy. You hear people that make money in a bad economy, and you hear people that lose money in a bad economy. So it's not the economy, it's the person. And I think I've had a lot of great successes, that are short influenced because of COVID and the pandemic. But I think at the end of the day, I was the one in control of making that success and growth happen.
The thing
So,
that's interesting, I think, about what we've gone through with COVID is that it did give people more of a manifest destiny. It allowed people to say, you know
yeah.
what, I don't want to work for somebody else, because there's something about that that's increasingly getting taboo. I think people want to run their own world, make their own money, have their own schedule. Is that kind of a sea change that maybe you're seeing that's a part of? I don't know that it's even as much generational as it is maybe just the way that COVID affected our mentalities.
Yeah. I mean, in psychology, a pattern interrupt is that label or term that you would give to what COVID did, which we all have a routine, all the consistencies, all the certainty, and then here comes in this thing that just
Mhm.
rocks everybody's world. And I think, like, what you just said, a lot of people were pushed into why am I doing this? Whether it's their career, whether it's their hobbies, why am I doing what I'm doing in life? And the career is a big part of your purpose because it's how you spend most of your week, right? And so I think part of it, like you said, is people wanting to run their own schedule, work for themselves, not have a boss. I think that's a big part of it. um I think, the underlying part is, how am I want to find work that contributes to my growth. So growth is the number one reason for all my clients why they leave jobs. um, so it's, not just the growth, but also what is my purpose and how can I manifest my purpose through a career? And that's what I love to help people do. So,
So let's kind of get to the essence of exactly what you do. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, and one of the kids looks up at you and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer that?
I help people with their jobs.
So, what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? What was your dream when you grew up?
I never had one.
Okay. All right. Well, you definitely do now. For sure.
Yeah, I do now. And I always felt bad for myself that I didn't. I was like, how do these other kids know? And I don't think it's necessarily that they knew, they had interests. And of course, those change over time. But I always felt bad for myself that I never knew. And now I think I'm one of the few that do know.
That's good. Sometimes it takes a while for that to get figured out, because there's still a lot of people that are out there working every day that have no idea what they want to do. So it's good to know.
Hmm.
Let's go back to your beginnings. Tell me where you were born and raised, and how these seeds of being an entrepreneur and wanting to help others, how did those become who you are today?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Rhode Island and, you know, good upbringing. I went to college in Florida and I never went back. And, you know, when you talk about these seeds, I knew I always wanted to help people. I don't really know where that came from, if it was family, if it was school, if it was people I was surrounded with. I'm not sure where that came from. My mom is an optometrist, so she, helps people with their eyes. But I was never into science, so I knew that it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
In college, I held a lot of leadership positions. I liked mentoring younger college students and helping them find their path. So that's where I started to become aware that I liked helping people. I didn't know at that point though what coaching was or what consulting was or that you people paid people to do that for them.
Yeah.
So I just really followed my interest, and that's what I always tell people to do is you don't have to know what you want to do, what the title of your job is or what company. Follow what you do and what you like, and you will figure out what you're meant to do for your work. And so that was kind of how I figured it out.
The one thing that always helps us get to where we want to go in life, the people that we look up to, who's been a role model for you?
I mean, definitely my mom. My dad passed away when I was 8. He was a banker and a politician, so he helped people too in different
Yeah.
ways. I still see him though as a role model, even though he's not alive. Definitely my mom for things that, I assume you can imagine what that was like for her. I'm the oldest of 3. Um, we had a babysitter that was like a nanny to us. She didn't live in our house, but she was around a lot. So she was definitely a big role model as well and kind of like a big sister. So more so real people than, the fictional Superman or something like that.
Right, right, right. So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now, it's business or otherwise, that would be inspirational, and you could spend some time with them, who would it be?
See, if you asked me this a year ago, I think I would have said Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, though, I think I can predict what he would say to almost anything I would ask. So now I think I would say Alex Hormozy. Do
Okay.
you know who that is?
No. Uh-uh.
So I'm actually reading one of his books right now. He's an up and come. Well, he's made it. He's a millionaire, and he's like 32 or 33. Um, and he's a business person that I don't want to, I would not compare him to Gary, but he's had, I think, the same impact on my life that Gary has had. And so he would be someone that I would definitely love to have a conversation with if I could.
So speaking of books, what was the first book when you were young that you read that really made you want to read more? Open the curtains and you were like, I need to read more.
The first thing that comes to mind is A to Z Mysteries by, I think it was Ron Roy. I think I love those. I don't know at what time in my life if that was the kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
I loved those books though.
Yeah.
Fiction.
Cool. So what's the ultimate motivator for you? You know, every day we get up, we have these things that we want to do. We have an agenda we're looking forward to. What is the ultimate motivator for you?
I mean, in a very broad sense, helping people. That looks very different with each client, with each person, because they need to be met where they're at. Um, a conversation that I had, you know, 9-ish months ago with some colleagues is about um, results versus progress. And in life, when we think about results, not just work, but anything in life, we think of the end goal as the result. And we tend to diminish anything that comes before that because that's not it.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about helping people and meeting them where they're at, for some people, a result might just be self awareness of a self sabotaging trait or behavior, right? And for other people, that might have been a discovery for them years ago. So a result or progress for them might be, taking action or implementing a strategy towards something that they desire, something that they want to do. And so I help people on all areas of that spectrum to better their lives in some way, specifically professionally. And then, like you said earlier, we're connected, as whole people. And so nothing operates in a silo. And ultimately, you help better people's lives when you help them in one area.
So speaking of helping people, what's been the best client success story you've been a part of?
So I actually just did a recording with her. Yeah, was that yesterday? No, it was last week.
Huh.
Getting all my days mixed up.
Yeah, I get it.
Um, a client, a client that do you know much about limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
Okay. I do a lot of work with clients on that, and I have tools and techniques I'm certified in to work on those things with clients. And she was someone that she had a lot. She was very aware of them. And it was her biggest problem was the way that I would put it was over identifying with them a little bit, so much so that it prevented her from moving forward because she was so aware of these negative things that were holding her back. And like I said, we just did the testimonial video last week, and she said increased confidence. She was able to increase her rates. She's a coach as well. Just so much more energy that I see in her presence and how she speaks and how she shows up in the room, in the Zoom room. And so confidence is really one of the biggest things that my clients across the board say that they are able to have or increase after working with me, whether it's working with me, one time or working with me. She worked with me over 3 months. So it's just incredible to really see that transformation, not just in her life outside of me, but also, like I said, the energy and the presence too.
Yeah. So now that you have this company and you're moving forward, you're gaining steam, what's your plan? Let's say 5 years from now. What are you looking forward to? Where do you want to go? How do you want things to happen?
Yeah. So my ultimate career goal for myself right now is to work with big companies on multi-year engagements related to talent retention, employee engagement, motivation, productivity, team effectiveness, stuff like that. So I would love to work with um, C-suite or senior level executives at companies, and then work with their departments or leads and specific teams in those groups, and do, like I said, multi-year engagements focused on one or multiple of those areas, so that I can do one-on-one coaching with the leaders and then the teamwork as well, to have touch points across the organization. And that's how you have the biggest and lasting impact, is when you're able to work with as many people that are affected and in the environment.
So in your line of work, you have to figure out your clients. You have to get to know them up front. So let's figure out what who you are. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you're the one running the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am a person that changes people's lives through coaching, through friendship, through meaningful conversations. I'm very confident and very knowledgeable in the work that I do. And I know that through interactions I've had, I have helped people step into more of who they are and who they want to be. I very much identify my work as, who I am as a person, because I believe that that's the way that I was called to make the world a better place.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see an event live, where would you go? What
Mhm.
would you love to see live
In my own
happening?
life.
Well, no, just in general, just in the timeline, whether it's the American timeline of history or sport or whatever it is, what would you love to see in person?
What's coming up for me, honestly, is Plato or Socrates.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, a specific event. I mean, I can't necessarily pinpoint a specific event.
right.
Um, but I remember in civics in high school, we learned about, ancient philosophy, and you see today how those teachings and those lessons are still extremely oh my gosh, applicable. And
Sure.
it just shows how timeless that stuff is. And so I think I would love to go back to an event where those discoveries were made, and, you know, just be there for some of those really foundational pieces of how we think and how we live.
Absolutely. So, Elena, if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything involving your world, where's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, my email is Elena at elenapastore.com. And my website is elenatorecoaching.com. So it's like Allen, ALLEN, ATORE coaching.com.
Excellent. I see the lucky Italian horn around your neck.
Yes, I'm surprised you knew. And I was just going to say, so Elena Torre, and I'm definitely not saying it with the correct Italian, uh, you know, speech,
Right.
means coach in Italian. So
Okay.
my mom is like, so you named your company Coach Coaching? Well,
Well,
yeah, but
but no one's gonna know. I
so
mean, unless they really dig
right.
into it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Cool. Well,
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm 100% Italian by
Okay,
blood.
nice. Yeah, I'm 50. My
So that's
dad
the
was,
connect.
yeah, my dad was from his relatives, all of them came over to Ellis Island. He was born in Brooklyn,
Oh,
raised.
okay.
Yeah, so and then he joined the Air Force, fell in love, and that's how we ended up in Kansas City. So that's the timeline.
Cool.
Have you been to Italy?
Yeah, I have
Where'd you go?
Rome, the Amalfi Coast, so Sorrento, Positano, um, Pompeii. I was
Okay.
going to say the volcano place, Pompeii, and Calabria.
What was your favorite?
Those are on two separate trips. I would probably say the Amalfi Coast.
Okay.
It's just, have you been there?
I haven't. I've been to Rome. I went to Florence. I had a pen pal in high school and we rode, and she was in a little sleepy town south of Florence called Castle Ferentio, and her family owned a
Okay.
pizzeria. So I went out there
Oh.
and then just kind of bumbled around. It was when lira was there, and it was 2000 lira was $1 American. So you had to be up on your math. Oh, so you go in and buy like a newspaper, and I had all people were warning me, watch out, the denominations are so high, they're going to try to rip you off if they know you're American. So there was all those things, but yeah, no, Rome to me just blew me away. By night and then by day was totally different. Very captivating.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
I don't know about the coast. I mean, it's I did go to Vernazza. I was funny enough, not funny enough, but just matter of fact, when I was in my
Yeah.
20s, I was backpacking through Europe, and I was there during September 11th, 2001. I was in the back of a water taxi in Venice.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so some dude's like telling me in Italian, just doing this with his arms, like, "Do you know what's going on in America?" And I'm like, are you talking about the 93 bombing of the World Trade Center? I had no idea. But anyways, I ended up in the poor man's Riviera, Cinque Terre. I was in Vernazza for a little while, and that was pretty magical. So anyway, yeah, but that's
Huh.
just a whole different reality over there. I just love the way they live, the eating and all of
Yeah.
that's a religion. It's just a really cool place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the food. I love Italian. I mean, I grew up eating Italian food at home, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Of course it's different in Italy. I had
Oh,
the first time I went, it was actually in high school on a trip that the school organized, and my mom was like, "You have to go." So that was the first time that I went. And we got off the bus at like, I don't know, maybe it was noon in Italy time, but we had just gone off so
oh
exhausted. We
yeah.
go to this restaurant, sit down, and they serve us this pasta, and I'm like about to fall asleep, but the pasta was I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my god, this pasta is amazing." I can't sleep. It was like I think the best pasta I ever had.
oh yeah. And
So,
just even those things like gnocchi and all of that, that's just they just have it down. It's a different art over there,
mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and then they space it out with, the primavera and all of the different courses. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's it's like running a race. It's like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? I have to eat more. So they just
Yeah.
they that now I know, like my relatives, they wouldn't stop asking if we wanted to eat. It's like, I'm fine, I'm full, I'm good already. Oh no, you're growing. Go ahead. Come on, let's eat more. It's like you gotta let me breathe. So anyway, you
Yeah.
see kind of how the historical parts of the Italian culture got emigrated over and how it became a part of the culture. So it's
Mhm.
interesting for sure. But anyway, well,
Yeah.
cool. Well, this has been great. Thank you for opening up. Best of luck with the business and everything as we move forward.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize this was it. I thought
Yeah.
I thought I like your questions though. They're all, kind of all over the place. I love when I get asked questions that are different
Yeah.
because people typically ask, very similar things.
Uh-huh.
So, I like when someone makes me think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and that's what I'm trying to do and trying to get into it. I come from jazz radio. My main like audio bread and butter is jazz radio, but I branched out. So I dive in and
Yeah.
some people are like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? It's like we're in. It's like this is improv.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah.
So it's just the
Yeah.
way it works. So
No, I
but
love it.
but
And I
you were
like your
wonderful.
background too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a painting I did a little while back, and yeah, I appreciate it. So, um, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good. I got to tell you, the one thing that I find so reassuring with especially a lot of younger generations is that there is this notion of building your own empire and having your own thing.
Mm,
And I think it's so key because when you get older in life, you look back and you're like, man, I did all that work for someone else, you know?
yeah.
And it's a
Mhm.
bummer. But if you can look back, no matter how much money you make at whatever time, because it'll all come back to you, you're building your own brand and your own entity, and it's on your back. So you really are
Mhm.
invested in a whole different way.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think about it like that now. Back then, though, my what sparked me to really decide to start a business was I was looking for other jobs. I was mainly looking for contract work, but I was looking for jobs, and I didn't want to give up on the startup. I felt, I was very emotionally connected to it because I put a lot of work into that too, and I still believe in the product, even though it, isn't around. And my mom was like, get a job. And I said, I just don't want to. And when I was looking, I couldn't find a job that was something I wanted to do.
yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
nothing out there. And the stuff that did seem interesting to me, it was like senior level. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, I don't need to be senior level to do what this is saying. I believe that I have a skill set and there's people I can serve with the skill set I have now. So I'm just going to make up my own job.
Yeah.
And that was really how it started. So, and now I think about it like, well, I've built all this stuff. And it's rewarding to kind of look back and see, everything I've created and resources and documents and client. So anyway,
That's
so it's a cool feeling.
It is, yeah. Good for you. More power to you. And I think it's very essential for people to get to that point where they believe in what they're doing and they're doing it for the right reasons. And this will always have your name attached to it and it'll be your legacy. So it's a good thing for sure. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
well, cool. Hey, it
Yeah.
was great to meet you.
All
Thank you
right.
very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Have a
Absolutely.
great rest of your day.
You too. Best of luck.
Bye.
Take care.